Futsal community, we're here live for Futsal Masterclass number 3. And today, for the very first time, we're going to have a specific topic that we're going to be talking about. But before I announce the topic, I would like to welcome Rafa Fogageiro, the man himself, the superstar, what was your nickname in futsal again? Because of the hair, what was he again?
Who said was he, right?
The Vin Diesel
No,
futsal is the
come on.
Rafa,
Too
welcome
much for
again
me.
for Futsal Masterclass
Thank you,
number
Andrea.
3.
Thank you, Andrea. Hi, how are you? How are you guys? Pleasure to be here again, and I hope you enjoy. As Andrea said, today it's the first time we are talking about a specific topic, and we hope all you guys enjoy.
So guys, I'm also live here on Instagram, but if you're watching on Instagram, make sure to go on YouTube so you can ask us questions. And by being said that, guys, Futsal Masterclass number 3, we have a specific topic to talk about. It's going to be the 3-1 attacking system in futsal. Rafa, the 3-1 system, you have written an ebook already. That's the ebook covered on the screen. The 3-1 system, I know you're a big fan of that system. How much do you love this system?
Yeah, first of all, Andre, I am from a generation. I started playing futsal when futsal in that time there was no 4-0 system. So let's say my futsal school in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro specific, it's all based onto the 3-1 system. So we used to specialize players as pivot, as wingers, as back, central back. So to me, it's my origin. And of course, it's not only based on what I like, it's based on also in results. And after that, how can we say, after that boom of the 4-0 system, especially in Spain, we are starting back to play, to use more the 3-1 and showing that 3-1, it's old but gold.
It's old but gold because it keeps on working, right?
Of course, it keeps working.
And we see like big clubs like Barcelona is still using very much. Barcelona has maybe 3 of the best pivots in the world.
Exactly.
Guys, just before we continue, this is an interactive question masterclass. So if you have any questions, jump on YouTube and ask us a question. Doesn't matter how stupid that might sound, your question, even if you think that it might sound a little bit silly, ask us your question. Don't be shy, okay? Once we have some questions, we're going to start popping them on the screen and answering your questions. Rafa, talking about the 3-1 system, what's something that you really need to have to play in the 3-1 system? Without that, you can't play.
Oh, first of all, you need a player that can play as pivot, right? So I can't say to you, Andrea, that you need a characteristic pivot, like someone that plays only in the pivot zone, in the finishing zone. No, it's not like that. But you need some player, any player, that knows what to do in the finishing zone, right? So I can tell you, you need the presence of the pivot, not specifically that pivot. The 3-1 system, one of the characteristics that I like is that you are able to manage the defense. So you can even start with a player in the pivot's position that's not the pivot, and another player that knows how to play as pivot in the first line, the line of 3, that's gonna move after 1 or 2 passes, gonna move to the pivot zone and staying there. So anyways, it's the most specific, I can say the key position for the system is the pivot.
You say the pivot, Rafa, and many people say that there are 2 ways of pivot. So you have the reference pivot, is that right? The reference pivot and the pivot that we say that it's the fake pivot moving.
Yeah.
Do you think that you must have a specific attribute? If you like, let's say, if a strong guy, you can play reference pivot. If you move more, you can play the fake pivot. Or do you think that even a short person can still play as a reference pivot?
Andrea, I think it's possible. We have in the futsal history some players that they weren't so strong physically, but they were very smart and smart enough to play as pivots. So I can tell you, even even when I was a futsal project of player, I wasn't a futsal
Project,
player, but I was a
project of
project.
play is a good one.
I was a project of
I
a
love when
player.
you say that.
Yeah. So when I used to play as pivot. So, and I was very skinny. I was very light to play as pivot, but I was a little bit smart. So I never fought with the central back. I was always
Uh-huh.
trying to make him confused, playing behind him and trying to open the line, trying to open conditions to receive the ball in the right time and never fighting.
Mm-hmm.
In the last years, we can also tell one player, he's called Wild. Wild, he's Brazilian, and he plays in Barcelona a lot of years. He played in Russia. Now he's playing in Italy. He played also in Corinthians some years ago, and he's one of the best examples about a pivot that's not so strong physically, but one of the most intelligent, most smart pivots that I've seen play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wilde was a classic fake, people would say, right?
Yeah.
And at the moment, we have Ferrão. Ferrão is the best player in the world, and he's a reference pivot. But often you see Ferrão coming, rotating, and coming to the first line to make a pass and make a move. And Ferrão also, he likes opening to the sides to take players on. He's very good one-on-one as well.
Yeah.
But there is a very specific characteristic of Ferrão. There is his first touch moving the ball. So he's not a player that usually stops the ball. When the ball comes to him, he turns it straight away with one touch. Do you think that it's harder for the defender when people turn one touch, or it's first time, I would say, one touch? That's two ways to say the same thing. Or it's harder when the people actually controls, fakes, and turn? What do you think it's better for the people to do?
To me, it depends of a lot of factors. One of these factors are the characteristic of the central back. If the central back is a kind of player that press the pivot in like we say in time one, go straight on to the pivot, trying to press the pivot and make him lose his balance. It's very intelligent move, trying to control in one touch and turn in one touch. It's very useful. So I believe when the central back is very aggressive, the pivot doing this move, it's he gonna take advantage. But the opposite, if the central back he waits more, he doesn't give the body to the pivot, so it doesn't make sense if the pivot try to turn in one touch, because he will be easily checked, he will be easily blocked.
I understand. Now we speak about pivots, but talk about the other three players. Is there something specific that, for example, the wingers, the flankers, do they have to have a specific attribute to play as wingers in the 3-1 system?
Yeah, to be honest, I believe that when you play in the 3-1 system, I'm talking about specifically the offensive moment when you are attacking. The line of three that is composed by the central back and the two wingers, it must be a very fast line and very smart line. So what I mean, if you have a pivot, reference pivot, playing in the pivot zone, it's intelligent if your first line has some mobility to connect the pivot. And connect the pivot, it's about 30%, 40% of the job. You have to connect to the pivot, you have to pass to the pivot, and then you have to support the pivot. So it's very important that these players in the line of three, they have this capacity to read the game and to watch the spaces, the free spaces, to attack these free spaces, even anticipating the movements of the defenders, right? So it's very important to me in the attack, in the 3-1 attack system, the presence of the third attack player. I mean, there's always one player that will connect the pivot. We call the first player. The second player is the pivot, and the third player, and sometimes even the fourth player, must be the player that read the space, read the game well. So for me, that's the most important characteristic of the players of the first line: high mobility, capacity to read the game, read the space, and anticipate the defender. do it before the defender.
Mm-hmm. And can you use some specific movements to connect with the pivot? So can you tell us just quickly some basic movements that this line of three they can make it to connect to the pivot?
Sure.
Because we all know that it's very easy if the ball is not moving and you can just pass to pivot, check and shoot. But
sure.
Think about strategies. What are some strategies that you can use to connect to the pivot?
So let's suppose, Andrea, that we have a pivot that he is predominant between him and the central back. He's predominant over the central back. So let's suppose here that the ball starts in the center with the player in the position of central back, that he will pass for one of the wingers, and he will move. Every time this player moves to the parallel, look, what's happening here? He's opening the center.
Opens a big space in the center of the court.
Yeah. What happens with this defender here? If this defender decides to close the center, he's opening the pass to the winger that he can connect with the pivot. So for this player, it's impossible to defend these two lines. He cannot defend the line to the winger if he decides to close the center. And if he decides to press a little bit more, he's opening the pass straight to the pivot. And then after the pass, as I told you, after the pass, you need the entrance of these players here.
Exactly. While you were talking, I was remember one goal that we scored in the President's Cup Grand Final. That was exactly there. We played the pivot, and a third player came in. So yeah. I'll try to put that goal up soon. Rafa, what about actually, before we go, I ask a question. We have this question here. I'm going to pop it up. So Hassan Karim, effective methods to break it down and defend against a team that might play 2-2 setup. Let's not talk about defense. Let's talk about attacking the 3-1 system against 2-2 setup. But the other team it's attacking 2-2, so we'll have to talk about defending.
Yeah, Andrea, this question. It's a nice question, but it's not related to the topic of the masterclass today. So let's ask him. He's Hassan Karim. Let's ask Hassan to save his question, and it's a good idea to talk about 2-2 because many people they think 2-2 is not useful system anymore, and it's very useful. So I think it's a good suggestion for us to have a next master class in the future talking about the 2-2.
So here we have another good question from Ryan Muras. What movement would you train your pivot to do to receive in a 3-1? So he means specific to the pivot. How could he make in passing lines to receive the ball?
First,
or he or she, if it's a girl.
Yeah, listen. First, we train the player to read the game. We train the pivot to read the game. Telling step by step. First, at the beginning of the season, I used to train the pivot to play in let's say in his good leg, side.
What do you mean with it? What do you mean with his good leg? For the ones that don't know.
For example, Andrea, just take care because your sound is starting to be robotic again. Okay, your audio, yes. So, for example, talking about the pivot. Let's suppose this pivot here, he is left foot. So, first at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of our work, let's say, I used to work the pivot to place more in his good leg, more in his side. Let's suppose he's left with the left foot here. He can save and protect the ball easier than if he's going to the opposite side. So this is first. Second, I used to work with the pivot in the center and his good leg position. And third, we move the pivot to the, let's say, to the weak foot side. So we have here at least three possibilities for the pivot to play in his good leg, play in his weak leg, and in the center. So this is the way that we start teaching pivots and coaching pivots here. We always try to support pivot and helping him to play in his good leg, in his good side, and to help him and help the team. We use some systems that help the pivot to play his good leg. So, for example, here we can have the exchange winger pivot, opening line for the pivot, right? And like in the next step, we use to leave the pivot more in the center or in his weak leg, depending, of course, of the characteristic of the pivot. It's important to say that it's not only related to analytical trainings. No, it's not only about this. We teach, we coach the pivot and the line of three, the wingers and the central back. A lot of movements, a lot of possibilities to play with the pivot in his good leg, central or weak leg side, and also we try to create or even using drills in the training sessions to help the pivot to read the game, to read the behavior of the first line, and to open the line at the right time.
And talk about this exchange winger pivot. I'm gonna put up a video on the screen, exactly this movement that you're talking about. So let me just bring that up. And these movements, we train them analytical in the warm-up, and we also train in game situations.
Yeah.
So that's the winger pass to defender pass to pivot, makes an overlap. And we ended up scoring with that movement. I'm gonna play this one more time, starting out from the defender. Defender to winger, make the movement, overlap. But again, that's one way to connect with the pivot. There is many ways that you can play. Rafa, there is something that I actually learned with you, and it was something a bit new to me. When you play 3-1, would you have the wingers more high up, or would you have them more at the back? Or in what situation do you have them in line, or in what situations you would have the wingers a bit more up on the court? If you understand my question.
Yes, of course, Andre. It's related to the skills of your wingers and the pressure of the opponent. It's very related. So I like when I know the opponent, he is pressing my wingers, I like to ask my wingers to come to the line of the ball. And so I decide to play my 3-1 attacking only two lines. One line of three, straight line, and the pivot, making the second line. I prefer, but it results in some stuff we have to think, because when we play in three lines, like the back, the wingers a little bit more in front of the line of the ball, and the pivot, you facilitate the game, you facilitate the creation of space between lines. So you're gonna have more possibility to attack the space between lines, to create situations in the spaces between lines. And when you decide to play in only two lines, you are separating the defensive lines and giving a little bit more space to the pivot to have a specific game, one against one, pivot against central defender, and also giving opportunity for the wingers to play the wrong way, what we call wrong way. I use your pressure to attack your back. So when you are moving through myself, I'm passing and running in your back. So this is interesting, but it depends of the aggressivity of the defenders of the opponent.
Talking about, Rafa, if you can just show on the board about the wrong way. What do you exactly mean with the wrong way? Showing on the board to make it easier for people to understand.
Design. So, for example, if the wingers, if they press too much, first of all, I can even connect using this gap between these two players. I can even connect from here. I can connect with the pivot, right? So this is one point. But what I was saying about the wrong way is this: if this player is attacking my player here, I can easily here use his back. I make, for example, one movement backwards. When this player come, I change my direction and I attack his back. So it's important here that this player in the center, he has not so much pressure on the ball, and this player here try to anticipate the movements of the pressure. When he feels the pressure coming here with a good body positioning and good peripheral vision, he must watch this player, and in the right time, when this player is moving, he run on his back. This is the wrong way.
Oh, I'm going to put a little video about the wrong way that was actually against us by Shabab Elahi, team from one of the best teams in UAE. So they actually did their movement against us. And they really ended up scoring that goal. I'm going to play one more time because so you see that the guy goes back and then plays behind the back.
Exactly. That's a perfect wrong way.
Perfect wrong way, and also or pivot was marking that player. So the guy was the player for Shabab was very smart to use probably one of our weaker defenders, and run behind his back. So you see that now he's pressing before the pass and receives a pass there behind his back.
Yeah. And this player, Andre, I guess this player is a Brazilian player.
Number 12 is a Brazilian player, exactly.
Yeah, he's a Brazilian player, yeah.
I can't recall his name right now, but he's
Nathan Jr.
Nathan, yeah. So you can only have 2 international players on the court in UAE, and he was one of the 2 international players.
Yeah, very intelligent.
Very, very smart player. Rafa, we have a question here. Thank you. My players are 19 to 14-year-olds. Coming from soccer, they are static, so they don't move that much as pivot. So the pivot that he has, he mainly stays in the center. Yeah. So just I think answer his question. The first step would be to encourage him to go to his stronger foot.
Yes. So, that's what I say.
Exactly.
The first step is encourage him to go to his good leg. Second, play in the center, and the last one, pushing him to his weak leg. And then you give him a freedom to choice.
So I hope Ryan understood that. Guys, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Ask us the questions. We're going to keep on going with the masterclass here. Rafa, next thing I would ask you is, there's a famous futsal terminology that is time pass, time ball, in the 3-1 system. In Portuguese, we say passe de tempo. We say time pass. Time pass, can you explain to everyone what time pass is, time ball?
Yeah, there is at least 2 kinds of time ball passes, but basically is I pass the ball to my teammate and I change my direction in a short space, and I move through the ball, attacking the ball that this player gonna pass to me, and in one touch I pass the ball to the pivot. Let me show here. For example, one of the possibilities here to play and to connect the pivot breaking the defensive line is this player here. He will move. When this ball comes, he attack the ball and pass in one touch. Possibilities for time ball. Second, this player pass, he moves, and he comes back. This player leaves the ball, and he attack the ball, connecting to the pivot. Time ball. Understand? Time ball basically is the passing one touch that the one of the players in the first line connects to the pivot.
And using this one-touch pass, I'm going to put on the screen one of these ones that Rafa just showed, but being done by a team in Brazil called Minas. So this team in Brazil used the set play and they ended up scoring that goal.
Taça Brasil
And they did it from the kickoff.
Referente a 2020.
Yeah,
em 2021,
exactly.
aqui em Tubarão, Santa Catarina. Vem Renato, bateu pro gol.
The people ended up turning and scoring a beautiful goal there. I'm gonna play that one more time. From the kickoff, huh?
Taça Brasil
See,
2020.
he's moving before the pass.
Em 2021, aqui em Tubarão, Santa Catarina. Vem Renato, bateu pro gol.
And what's very interesting here, that how they created they in exact line. So the first line of players, the three players, they make a line to try open a gap in between the winger and the pivot there.
Yeah.
And
Andre,
it's done perfectly.
In fact, you see the defense is not in line, huh?
They're not in line, but that's how effective this set play is. Even if it's not perfect, the defenders do it pretty well. They still manage to find the pivot.
Yeah, exactly. In the right time, doing the right time, this time ball it's very hard to defend.
And what's very interesting here as well, this left winger that is on the right side from Minas, he attacks the ball. He doesn't wait for the ball. He runs in this gap. I'm going to play one more time here. So just watch the play that actually pass to pivot now. He attacks the ball to pass. That's the secret, huh?
Yeah. Attacks the ball in the right time, the right rhythm. It's the secret.
It is. And just before we go to the next one, I'm actually going to show a goal that we received last season. So let's watch this goal here from Shabab Elahi again. This one here in the playoffs of the league of the 2010-11 league, 2021. The pivot doesn't turn and shoots. The pivot lays off for this player that passed the ball to them. This is a different scenario. It's more half-court attack.
Yeah.
But it's still the same strategy.
Yeah. The time ball is there.
It's definitely there. So the next and the other one that would say, the other one you're talking before. Let me see if I find a good one here. There is just a simple one I can quickly show the guys. Connect the pivot.
Yeah.
So here is when the defender passes the ball to the winger, he checks and he comes back to play the pivot.
Yeah.
Rafa, now talking more about pivots that move more. So can you just show us a little bit or talk through movements that people can do with the pivot coming to rotate or to starting as pivot, but we say the fake pivot movements.
Yeah, Andre, listen, we have to understand that it's nothing that every time the pivot move, he is changing the system for 4-0. No, since you have one player here, for example, this player passes and go diagonal, long diagonal. The pivot now, he's coming to the elaboration zone, right? So it's not because the pivot is coming to the elaboration zone that's not playing. We are not playing into the 3-1 system. We have the presence of one player playing as pivot, right? So this is important to understand. And there's a difference between fake pivot and false pivot. Fake pivot, it's a pivot that will play in the pivot zone, moving a little bit more. But he steals in his pivot zone. As we approach this pivot to the line of the wingers, we start to change our system 3-1 to 4-0. Right? So if I leave this positioning, what are you going to say? It's a 3-1 or 4-0 system. You know, that's the detail of the system. It's not important for me here how we're gonna call 3-1 or 4-0. The most important for me here is what's the meaning of the movement of the player. What we want, what do you want? We want probably to use the pressure of the defense to take advantage of the back, to use these spaces. So here we are creating a lot of spaces, especially if we play against a very strong central defender and we bring our pivot to the line of the wingers. We are forcing the central defender, and he doesn't like the central defenders. They normally don't like to lose the control of the zone. If we push them to follow the pivot, they leave the zone. They leave a lot of space. So it's very important for us to understand against who we are playing. About the movements of the pivot, as I said, Andrea, it's easier for the pivot to come to the first line in his, let's say, his good side, his strong side, the side of his good leg. So we can, for example, here we are playing parallel, right? And the pivot is coming in rounded run. When he comes to the first line of elaboration, they are forcing the last player to decide if he follows or if he stays. If he follows, he's leaving the space, he's leaving the back. So there's no cover. If he stays, he's leaving the superiority here in the first line, 3 against 2. So it will be easier for the first line to push the defensive line back. It's almost impossible, for example, to press. So there are a lot of movements for the pivot, lots of movements. We can always try to understand these movements by corridors. If the pivot is coming from the corridor, the sides corridor, here, or if he's coming from the center, from the central corridor. So in this case, it doesn't matter a lot. What matters is the capacity of the central back to control the space here. If the central back is stronger than your pivot, it's okay if you force your pivot to come a little bit more to the sides and play closer to the wingers, and creating here a doubt in the back if he follows or if he stays.
So that's so just summing up. If it's a very strong if the defender is stronger than the pivot, it's advantage if the pivot comes to the wing and play more on the wing, take the defender out of there.
Of course.
Also, Rafa, it's how about when the pivot is actually playing behind the defender?
Yeah, it's possible as well. It's possible to the pivot play behind the central back. But
what that makes, what that creates.
Yeah, we have to consider, Andre, here what? It's hard to the central back to control ball, I mean, from his vision, ball, and the player if the player is behind, right? So, but also here we have the goalkeeper that can help to defend the pivot. So we have to take care, because if the pressure is very high pressure, 3/4 of the pitch or even more, it's hard to find here for these players, find here possibility to pass this ball straight to the pivot if the ball is under pressure, right? And this is a very long pass. It's a very long pass. It's hard to the pivot to control this ball, even because you have the cover of the goalkeeper. So it's okay. It's a good possibility if you play against a back that plays in front of the pivot. He controls the zone, and you are playing in a shorter space against, for example, half pitch defense. You can hear, for example, you can have a movement we call Carlos Alberto. You made a video, a very nice video recently about the Carlos Alberto movement. The player here, he gonna feint and he goes to the diagonal and he receives this pass. It's about 15, 18 meters pass normally. It can be more or less, but normally 15, 18 meters pass. And here he can finish normally in one touch. It's a duality. So
and what's the advantage of doing that? If is a duality, but if the pivot is on the other side, it's taking the cover away as well. So the cover will be very far away. It will be very hard to defend there as well.
Yeah. Depending on the defense, you're gonna have here this player in the cover and this player, the opposite winger, helping to close this diagonal. And
talking about the Carlos Alberto, I'm gonna put the Carlos Alberto on the screen now.
Yeah, put. It's interesting.
Actually, the video I was about to put, it didn't work. Let me just pick another one quickly. Here, here's another one. Just 1 second. Number 6.
I don't believe, Andre. I don't believe that the pivot he's able to play all the time behind the back. Depending on the pressure of the first line and the dynamic of the game here of the first line.
The pressure is the key.
Some movements he must open here, and he must save open line to save the ball, to receive the ball.
And what's interesting, you talk about the pressure. This video I'm going to show you guys now. The other team is waiting half court, so they're sitting back. There's no pressure on the ball. Let's just watch. This is from Inter Movistar.
Inter de moment que ha sortit endollat en el partit. El Barça una mica en la línia dels últims dies. Atenció, Boyis d'esquerra.
There is no pressure in the ball.
Exactly. And the interesting thing about Inter Movistar is a team that plays on with the 4-0 system most of the time at the moment. But they always have someone they ended up going as a pivot there. And in this case, this player that went to be the pivot, he does the movement that we're talking about, the Carlos Alberto movement. Let's watch this one more time.
Juga Pola. Inter de moment que ha sortit endollat en el partit.
The pivot is going to the wing to pass this ball. So probably who is following this winger is another winger. It's not a central back properly.
It's not center back, and in this case, it's not even a winger. It's the pivot. It's Shin Bin marking this player.
Exactly. So this is the details of the game. Sí,
en la línia dels últims dies, atenció, Boyis d'esquerra, bona aturada de Didac plana.
It's almost a diagonal pass.
It's almost a diagonal pass. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and there's another point interesting in these movements, Andre. The central back, they use not to like to go to the wing to defend 1-against-1. Central backs, they like to be in the cover, not in the 1-against-1 situation, in the wing, right? So if you see again the video, the movements, the movements without ball of the winger that opens the space to the pivot come and receive this ball a little bit before.
I think it was that movement that you were talking about, the winger pivot switch.
Yeah, the winger pivot switch, exactly. But the movement of the winger is without ball, in front of the player. So normally when you move in front of your defender, they used to follow. Some exceptional situations they used to follow. And when he's running in front of his defender, he's pushing the winger, or in his case was Shimbinha, the pivot, to follow him for a zone that he doesn't control. It's not his preferred zone to play. And he's pushing the central defender, the back, to face a 1-against-1 situation that also he doesn't like to face, you know.
Rafa, talking about this winger pivot switch, you were saying that when the player runs in front, most likely the defender is going to follow. Can you show on the board what you're talking about?
Yeah, there are two possibilities always talking about attack and defense. when the player, when he runs and he moves, he always have the possibility to run in front of his defender or behind his defender. Understand what I mean? So,
and sorry to stop you there, Rafa. When the player runs in front, what happens? And what happens when he runs behind?
André, if you are facing an individual defense, the player, normally he's gonna follow. But when you are facing a defense of change, we used to call defensa de cambios in Spanish, or a zonal defense, this player, he's not adapted to follow the players. So if you run in front of this player, you have here possibility to create an internal line of pass and advantage, because who gonna switch and adjust the movement is normally is the opposite winger in the defense of exchange, or the central back in the defense, zonal defense. So let's suppose it's a defense of exchange. This player pass and he move in front of his defender. When he moves in front of his defender, this player leaves the attacker. Defender leaves the attacker, and he's opening here internal line, and he's moving away of his defender. So there's advantage here. There's in this case
here, Barcelona follows. Barcelona is more individual defense.
Yes,
and that's exactly what you said. When that player follows, the player that is following Chimbinha, he's a pivot. He's not the best defender of the team.
Yeah, and it's better to follow, Andre. It's better if the defense is individual or even another defense. It's interesting to follow because you keep the control of the ball, and the player is running in front of you. And it's opposite. Imagine this situation. Let's suppose this situation, Andre. I'm gonna make the same situation here. Imagine this situation. Here we have a winger. This winger is moving in front of his defender, right? Let's suppose he tried to run in the back of his defender. It's very easy here to make an exchange. If this player here, he tried to run in his back and they make the change and make the switch, probably there was no goal in this situation because you're gonna have the cover.
Exactly.
Can you understand? So it's detail.
Let's just watch one more. Let's just watch this one more time here. Rafa, let me just bring us back to us. We have a good question here. It's a question. It's not really a question. He's just talking what he does in his team. He believes that it's better for the pivot to stay behind the defender if the other team is close to the middle of the court. But if you are under pressure, it's better if the pivot comes in front.
Yeah.
So play against a low defense, he prefers the pivot to stays behind. But play against a team that is pressing. But that's not an exactly rule, is it?
No, there is no rule. There is no rule. It's not like that. Against who? The defender is playing in front. Sometimes it's interesting to the pivot, depending on the movements of the first line. It's sometimes interesting to the pivot to not to fight with the back, but to pretend that he's trying to take the front of the back to move back, to try to attack his back, to try to attack the space behind the back. So it's not a rule, it's not a rule. Depends on the pivot the back you are facing, the quality of your first line, the quality of your wingers and central backs. But he is right in some point. For example, if you are facing a very low defense, it's important to have depth in your attack, and to have this depth, it's important to the pivot to play behind the back, to use the line, the last line of the pitch. use that spaces to try to separate lines, to try to make the defense lose the cover. You know, it's interesting.
Rafa, I'll play a video now here. Play against a low defense. Two things I'd like to say here. First is, I think it's Ricardo marking the pivot. So Ricardo is one of the best defenders from Barcelona. The player that is marking...
But listen, this is not Barcelona. This is not Barcelona.
No, Levante, sorry.
Levante, yes.
Yeah, it's not Ricardo, my bad, sorry.
Probably Torra.
Mark,
it's
you say? Mark?
No?
I can't really tell, but what's interesting here is the player that is marking the player with the ball is Revidius. Revidius, again, is one of the weaker players. And it's very interesting here how this goal happened just a few days ago. I think it was yesterday, actually, this goal happened.
Andre, check your audio. Your voice is robot again.
Can you hear me better now?
No, it's still.
What about now? Can you hear me well?
No, still, Andre.
What about now, Rafa?
Andre, even the sound, the music of the video was facing the same problem.
Rafa, I'll be back in 30 seconds. Just if you can show us, you can answer this question here why I'm not here.
Yes, right, you're right. Based on the video, pivot is staying behind the defender, then come to support quickly, but intercepting in front of the fixture to receive the ball. Yes, perfect. In fact, he's not even behind. He's a little bit away, more for the side of the back, and he anticipate. He read well the game, and he saw the spaces between the two defenders in the first line. And that's why he anticipates the possibility. Anticipates, I mean, not anticipates only running before the back. He anticipates mentally the possibility of the pass. This is very important, and also it's related to the experience of the players. This pivot, when he perceived the possibility to the pass, he runs and he take the position before the back, before the central back, the fixture, in this case. And this is interesting because when he did it, when he anticipates the central back, he goes late to try to press him. And also the first line, if you see Revidius, the player of Levante, I guess it's Revidius, number 10, he lose the control of the ball, and the player, he lose what we call defensive triangle, the control between ball and player. He lose. So when Catella passes the ball to the pivot has a good depth. He's almost inside the box, almost inside the 6 meters. And the first line, they lose absolutely. They lose the defender, the attacker. So it will be easier when it happens for attack, when the first line of the defenders they don't follow the players, the wingers or central back. They don't follow properly, or they even don't close the space, don't make the box to close the spaces. But in this case, it's clear the pivot is not behind properly the back. He's beside the back, a little bit far, and he perceived the possibility. See, come back a little bit, Andrea. See, he's in front. Now he's in front. He starts by besides the back, right? Go. Now he took position. Finish. And the first line, as I say, the first line, they don't follow. They lose the control of ball and player, and it turned into a very, very beautiful goal.
And Rafa, at the moment, we have the Portuguese Grand Final playoffs. It's happening at the moment. I'm not. Do you know what the scores are at the moment in the Grand Final of the Portuguese League, or does anyone tell us?
Yes. Now, Andrea, can you repeat, please?
The Portuguese Grand Final, the playoffs.
Yes.
What's the score at the moment?
2-1 for Sporting.
2-1 for Sporting.
They play today.
They play today.
They play today, the fourth game.
And then...
Atenção a Tainan, vai com o Silvestre, Tainan, é para Eric, Tainan, o remate, o golo! Marca o Sporting, espetáculo esta jogada entre Tainan e Eric na zona central. Muito bem trabalhado pelo pivô. Atenção a Tainan, vai com o Silvestre, Tainan, é para Eric, Tainan, o remate, o golo! Marca o Sporting, espetáculo esta jogada.
In this case, Rafa, you have mentioned to me you used to work in Iran and Tainan used to play in Iran. You told me that Tainan is one of the most talented futsal players in the world. That's your words to me. What makes this goal so special from Tainan? Why Benfica can't stop a goal that it might sound so simple, but it really is not that simple?
Andrea, there is something that you conquest in your career, in your life in general. It's the respect of the defenders, the respect of the players. And Tainan, because of his quality, he conquisted the respect of the players. So when he has the ball, you can see he's facing the player and dribbling through the player, and the player, he's walking back. See.
Bem trabalhado pelo pivô. Atenção a Tainan, vai com o Silvestre, Tainan,
now,
para Eric, Tainan, o remate.
The defender, they respect him, and of course they must respect, so they give a little bit more distance. When you are playing against for me one of the best players in the world, when you are playing against a player in the level of Tainan, any centimeter it's enough to find a pass, to find a line. In this case, of course, they train together. So when he, with his left foot, his preferred foot, when he faces the defender, you see he faces the defender. He doesn't pass far away of the defender. He runs through the defender, he faces the defender, and he finds this pass in a short diagonal with the pivot. And the pivot, of course, this is related to training. The pivot knows, probably when he passes to me, he's gonna come to short. He's gonna come to finish the movement. So he passes in a very short space. He doesn't need too much. This kind of players, they don't need too much space and too much time. That's why they are what they are. And he just finds this diagonal pass. He feints, he make a short feint, and he goes to finish. This is a classic training goal.
Classic training goal using the 3-1 system, isn't it?
Yes.
It was a 3-1 system. Rafa, anything special about the 3-1 system that anything else you'd like to add to the 3-1 system? Guys, just before Rafa answers that question, Rafa has made a 3-1 system ebook. I put on the screen now here. This is an amazing ebook for futsal. So if you guys are watching on the description of the video, you can buy the 3-1 book. When you made this book, Rafa, what did you put in the book that people can learn?
To be honest, when I made this book, I was in Iran, and I was working with one of the best pivots in the world for me, called Mehdi Javid. He's Iranian, number 14 of the national team. One of the best pivots, I'm sure, in the world, maybe in the history of futsal. He's very, very smart player, and he knows a lot of his position. And he was making me change a lot of concepts that I had about the pivot. And from my from my talkings with Mehdi in the training, outside of the training. I was sharing a lot of experience and knowledge with him about his position. So I decided to write this and to put all of this in a book in a way that everyone can read and understand. There are a lot of details, right, in the book. It's very easy to understand. And what I could write down, I did in that time. Of course, it's knowledge is something that you learn every day. With now actually it's 3 years, 2.5 years after the moment I finished that ebook. So I'll probably make an update on this ebook in I think in a couple of years probably to renew my knowledge about the system. But this is my preferred ebook between the 4.0 and the 3.1. I really love the 3.1 work. I really love the book. I think it was very, very interesting, and it's a classic already.
It's a classic. Rafa, we have a very good question here because it's something that we were nearly forgetting, and something very important in futsal, which is the blocks when you use the 3.1 system. His question is if you always have to use the blocks. Of course, you don't always have to use the blocks, but I'll let you answer the question, but also to talk about the blocks in the 3.1 system, or blocks, cortines, all these movements.
Listen, Andrea, it's interesting. Let me first show to the people, because maybe someone here, they are not used to these concepts. So this is
if you can just lift your board a little bit. That's it.
So this is the block. If, for example, this player passes, this is his defender. So he runs here to help this player, his teammates, to drive the ball, to dribble the ball to the center, making this movement, blocking his defender. Now he's helping his teammate to take some space and time and opening lines to connect with the pivot. And there are many possibilities after that. The difference between block and cortine is that the cortine, when you come to help and make the duality, you pass the ball and you run between the defender and the ball, creating like an obstacle, to the defender. So it's necessary. No, you don't have to block or make a cortine to help the winger. It's a offensive tactical mean. You can use it or not to open the line. Depending on the defense, you cannot even do the block or the cortine, because they make the defensive jumps, as literally translating defensive jumps. What's defensive jumps? It's a thing for another masterclass. If this player passes and he comes here for blocking, for example, this player can simply adjust, and this player here jumps through the ball and keep the ball under pressure. So as you can see, it's an offensive tactical mean. It's not necessarily something that you must do to play in 3-1. It's a mean, like overlapping, like crossover, and like a large diagonal, large parallels, So it's a duality. It's the base of the 4.0 system, and it's very useful in the 3.1 system, but it's not the base of the 3.1. It's not like in the 4.0. For the 4.0 system, the dualities are the base of the system. So it's game of two.
I'll talk. I'm going to put a video on the screen now. One of our last ones. We're going up to an hour now. We don't want to drag too long the video, but cortines and parallels. Parallel. Let me just put the video up on the screen. I'll start again because cut at the start. So that's Barcelona again. A block. They are parallel.
Yes, it's a large parallel. Yes.
But what's interesting is Barcelona is a team that plays with pivot, and they're always trying to do movements to open the pass to pivot, to open a passing line to the pivot. So even now, when Diego passes the ball to, I think it's Ricardo there. This time is Ricardo, I'm not wrong this time. Ricardo could have very much dribbled the ball to the center and played the pivot through the center of the court.
Yes.
All these movements, they're movements to connect with the pivot.
Yeah, and in the case, probably the pivot. I don't know if it was Ferrão or not, but probably the pivot was in this side of the court, and he's opening the space in the opposite side just for these dualities, for the parallel, for the 1-2. So the pivot is probably here down on the video.
I think he is, and then he goes to the second post after that. So,
yeah.
So that's a block there, a cortine, now a parallel.
Yeah.
And there's the pivot there. I think it's Chimbinha. Yeah, Chimbinha.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if it was Ferrão, if the Barcelona would make this movement. I'm not sure. Probably with Ferrão, the presence of Ferrão in the pitch almost pushed the player to play with him. You know, without Ferrão, they use more the space balls.
Yeah. So let's see here. I have a video with Ferrão here. Let's put it up and see what they do sometimes with Ferrão. Just give me 1 second. Number 23. Okay, let's go. So now Ferrão the court now.
Game ABC.
Game ABC. But it's very interesting how much they trust Ferrão as a pivot. When Ferrão is on the court, they're all the time passing to the pivot.
Yes. There are players that they have too much influence on the behavior of the players, on the behavior of the team. We were talking about this these days, and Ferrão is one of these cases.
Rafa, talking now, we have a good question here, but before I show the question, actually, movements to get out of pressure. So goalkeeper movements, goalkeeper starting movements. It's very useful to have a pivot there when the other team is pressing and your goalkeeper has the ball.
Yes.
The question here is actually, FIFA, they changed the rule that you can't throw across the court, but they haven't actually changed yet. That's only for juniors, and that's up to the federation to decide it, to the local federation to decide. But this question is actually not correct at the moment. But anyway, what are some movements that you can do to break the pressure with the goalkeeper using the pivot?
Andrea, first I have to say that it's necessary to the players not to wait the goalkeeper, not to wait in stand position for the ball. If you have, and this is a study I've made in many some years ago in using many games of the Spanish and Brazilian league, if you have at least 2 players moving before the pass of the goalkeeper, you have a probability to break the pressure 5 times higher than when the players are stopped. So let's suppose, for example, the goalkeeper, he wants to start and they are pressing a lot. The simple movement of these players, 2 players, help the team to break the pressure. 2 movements. I can tell you here many movements. For example, with pivot, I'm gonna tell you one movement. Easy. This player, we play in 3 lines. This player, he runs back.
Rafa, when you say 3 lines, can you just explain exactly what that means?
Yeah, 3 lines means the 1 line is the back, 2nd line the wingers, and 3rd line is the pivot.
The wingers are not exactly the same line as the defender. The wingers push up a little bit.
Yeah, now I have 2 lines. 1 line and 2nd line here with the pivot. We are talking about 3 lines. I can simply move this player for one winger, forcing his defender to come. This player move without ball, feint, and this player come between lines. Here we have a triangle. Here we can, if this player close diagonal, we pass to the pivot. If this player close the pivot, we pass to the player between lines and he can connect with the pivot. Or also we can have this player here attacking the space and having a long diagonal. So this is basic, but just to show how important is the players move before the pass of the goalkeeper, receive this ball in movement. This is the most important, for me, the most important concept when you are breaking a pressure.
That's very, very interesting. And I'll see if I can put one movement here up. Let's just see. You talk about the movement before. So let's see if this video goes up. So the players that is make a switch before?
Yes. Finish the pressure. Finish. The defense is broken.
So it's very interesting how the pressure went from the first line and now the defense is already on the half court.
Yes. And in this case, we had 3 players moving. 2 players moving before the pass of the goalkeeper, and the pivot trying to bring the defender to half court. So you see the pressure is broken when the back, he decided not to follow the pivot. So when the pivot received the ball, he's free. Check now. Stop. Defender. See the defender? He stopped. He doesn't follow.
But it's also it's a tricky situation because if the defender follows, opens his space at the back, huh?
Yeah, my friend. Of course.
So yeah, it's, how do you say, Rafa? Short paints. What does it?
Short paints. It's short paints.
For people listening at home, what does short paints mean?
Oh, short paints means if you want to cover your ankle, you're gonna show your ass. If you decide to cover your ass, you're gonna show your ankle. You
Guys,
can't cover
many times last season, during team talk, during halftime, Rafa would say, "Guys, short paints, man, short paints," and then all the players would already know what that means.
Yeah, we have.
Unfortunately, when you defend, you can't cover everything, so you're gonna have to take some risk, right?
Yes. Depending on the movement of attack, this is one of my favorites. I love this movement, and I love to see the behavior of the defense. Like, we are aggressive, we're gonna take the ball, and then okay, come back. We cannot take the ball. See, I love to see this. I love to see how my team imposes the superiority against the opponent. Like, okay, you can press, doesn't matter, we're gonna have the ball.
Yeah, it's that's the thing about breaking pressure. It's not just about scoring goals, but to push the defense back, huh?
Yes, exactly. Of course, the game is based on scoring goals, but I love to see the way that you impose your superiority, attacking superiority against a defense. I love to see that. And we can see a lot of concepts.
Rafa, lastly, guys, we're going to the end of the live. So if you have any last questions, anything last they'd like to ask us, now's the time. After this, only in the next Futsal Masterclass. We have a question here from Eduardo. What are some drills, or how do you teach the players the time pass, the time balls? It's a very good question, Eduardo. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, it's nice. But first, you have to tell your players what is time ball and why they gonna use the time ball. They have to understand the concept and why they are going to use it in their gameplay. And second, you can create, for example, exercise that you put, for example, you divide the pitch in zones, and in the sides, once the wingers, the players can play, for example, only one touch, and you have the pivot zone that the pivot is not allowed to go out of his zone, right? So it will force the wingers to play in one touch and to connect with the pivot. Also, of course, they're gonna have a lot of feints, balls in the back of defenders wrong way. It's a simple exercise. The way that you're gonna teach your players, the way that you're gonna tell your players, explain the concepts and gonna create these problems. Let's call game problems to the players to solve. It's the key, and it's interesting to show this kind of exercises by video. You know, showing probably using tactical pad. It will be much better than just talking about exercises. But you can navigate on your mind to create exercises according to what you want to coach.
And Eduardo, I'm going to put on the screen here one of the training sessions we did last season. This training session that we did last season, just before we continue, was 3 against 3 in the middle with 2 pivots in each team. So we had a pivot in each corner. So it was 5 against 5, 3 in the middle, 3 against 3 with 2 pivots. So you see that because you have 2 pivots, it will be much easier to pass to the pivot. There will always be some passing lines, but if you can encourage the players to use these time balls to the pivot. So let's just watch there for a little bit there.
Andrea, for example, in this drill, we could say for the players, if we score goal using the time ball, the goal works the double.
Counts double. So that's one way to encourage the players to use that.
Yeah.
And Eduardo, what I think that's also very important is if you're going to have a training session on time ball, time passes, you should warm up using this technique they're going to use in the training session as well. So even from the warm up, you can start doing analytical training to train the technique. When you use the analytical training, you're focusing on the technique. And then later on, when you go to the positional training, to the game situational training, you do what Rafa said as well of counting as double.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit longer. See if we see a time ball. You see that time was not time ball. But even right here, we see a very good situation of the 3-1 system. The player that passes, so that's one of our stronger players, Al Nasser left footer. He passes, and the third player comes in for the finishing.
Yeah.
The game ABC.
Yes. Andrea, it's also important to talk about the methodology of training. And many times when you are working with players, young players or players with not that much experience, it's important to show to the player before what you want to say, you show the video of the movement. So how many times we edited, specifically you edited videos, we decided to show videos and you edited the videos and we showed to the players before the training, to the player to have this feedback, this visual feedback, to know what we are talking about, right? And then we do the warm-up properly, analytical exercise without defense, only to training the specific technique, and then we go for a kind of defense, normally a defense that's not aggressive, a passive defense as we called, and then finally we go to a training with active defense.
And look how interesting. Talk about Rafa. You said that I did a lot of video editing. I just it's very natural for me now to identify situations. But look how they do just a time ball right now here. Look, starting now. Look, passing, checking, time ball to the people.
Yeah.
And then they nearly scored. How beautiful that was.
Yes.
That was a very beautiful attack there.
Exactly. Andrea, I have to go. I have training now at 5 p.m. It's 4:16.
So that's it, guys. Look, thank you so much for everyone that joined in. We got lots of other messages. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time. Thank you so much for joining. Rafa, thank you again.
Thank you.
It feels like I spend hours and hours with you, but every time I talk, I learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you a lot. Thank all you guys. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you guys in the next masterclass.
That's it, guys. Thank you very, very much. I'll finish the video now. Catch you guys later.